This is such sad news. Charlie Watts from the Rolling Stones, one of the original members, has died, and this following a long and serious illness. So Charlie died in a London hospital. Unclear exactly what happened. We know he had been in this hospital for a while and that it was terminal. We had been told that for several days. It's unclear what was wrong, but we know that he had throat cancer in 2004, went into remission, and he was back on tour with the band. And he actually never missed a tour, which is a big deal. Remember, we're talking 6 decades, I think?
Yeah, it's been since the early 60s. And, he was kind of the glue in a way that held the Stones together because, you have these very flamboyant, larger-than-life personalities with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. And Charlie was always just the calm, steady one that kept everything moving along, kept the band together. And he was just that, sort of steady presence in this, wild, crazy rock circus.
Eric, what happens now? They don't really have a substitute drummer because he was always their drummer.
Well, they did have a substitute lined up because, they had announced recently that he was not going to be able to do this tour.
Oh,
so
right,
they did have a
right.
substitute ready. They keep going. And, that might sound kind of heartless to some people that, this guy that's been there since the beginning is no longer there and they just keep plugging along without him. But that's the defining thing of the Rolling Stones. I mean, I hate to use the cliche, but they don't gather moss. They keep moving. The Stones, nothing has ever slowed them down in 60 plus years. So they'll keep going. And if I was Charlie, I would want them to. If I helped build this and kept it going for all these decades, I wouldn't want it to end with me. You want it to keep going forever.
The idea that this group has lasted 60 years with all of the things that break bands up that had been going on with egos and drugs and all the other stuff, it's pretty amazing.
I think in retrospect, you could give Charlie a lot of the credit for that. I think, like I said, he was, when Keith was having all of his issues with drugs and stuff and Mick was off making his movies and things, Charlie was always there. And you look at other, their contemporaries, like The Who and Led Zeppelin, have these very outrageous drummers like Keith Moon and John Bonham. They died, and that was the end of those bands in a lot of ways. So maybe Charlie was the one that kept the Stones together all these years.
And I think a lot of people were hoping that he would recover when it was announced that he wasn't going to be a part of the upcoming tour. He said, his spokesperson said at the time that he was going to take some time to recover from a medical procedure. They didn't say how serious it was. So I don't think a lot of people were expecting that he would just not be returning from here on out. It's very sad.
It is very sad.
I'm Melanie Romo. I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and it's truly disappointing to hear about the passing of Charlie Watts from the Rolling Stones. I do believe that his legacy will live on, and of course he'll be missed by many. Really devastating.
Well, this is indelibly etched in rock and roll history.
One of the greatest bands of all time.
Absolutely.